Firstly, Karan, I think thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us here.
Pleasure is mine. Yeah.
We were looking out. We were looking out for industry experts and people from the field who could actually help startups like us, with their experience and to see how we could learn from that and then further grow. So first, if you could help us with a little bit about you and a little bit of background about your role and what you do at Jeevan Sathi, or what your otherwise expertise, if I can
Yeah.
say, are.
So first of all, thank you for having me. The pleasure is mine. It's good to interact with fellow marketers and digital marketers. A little bit about myself. I am working for jeevansathi.com. I'm leading the digital marketing slash performance marketing. I have been with this brand for 2.5 years. Before that, I was with the Naukri team in the digital space in their handling their digital marketing activities for 2.5 years. I've been in this industry for close to 6 years, and I've done my MBA from MICA, where I specialized in digital marketing. So that's a little bit about myself, and good to looking forward to this good interaction with you. Yeah.
Lovely, Karan. So, Karan, to understand, so, today when, I started out with Vevo Digital as well, I primarily did that because, there was one time when your TV ads and your print or your radio, etc., used to be the only medium which a lot of brands use
Yeah.
for marketing. So, how do you think, and there are still a huge set of them that still continue to do that in today's time. So, how do you think how could you prove the incremental growth, for the massive amount of money that actually goes in as expense into these kind of mediums that brands use for
Okay,
promotion?
so I think let's step back a little bit. Okay, so let's first define what are we trying to do. Okay, as a marketer or as an advertiser. Okay, there are I always say that there are two kind of objectives which are any marketer or any brand or any strategy is there. One is long term, one is short term. Okay,
Correct.
when traditional media typically these days, and especially coming from my experience, what I observe, when you look at the long term growth, you need to build that awareness, consideration with a set of audience and the reach which
Correct.
was possible with a medium like, let's say, TV. Okay, it's huge, it's massive. I think TV is close to 600 billion or so. It's still not possible through digital. Okay, so when you say that I want to prove incremental growth, what is the time frame? Okay, if the time frame is let's say next 3 months, it's difficult to prove. Okay, but if let's say you're looking for, let's say, an year or 2 year, were you able to do incremental gains, not in just terms of users coming on your platform or even just capturing the market share? You can prove, and it's sometimes very difficult, and that's where digital comes into picture. So let's say I am a brand advertising and I say that, hey, give me this crores of money, I will provide you if I'm going to spend 20% incremental spends, and I'm going to give you a reasonable 15%. Now that's possible in digital, and it's a very a short term play. But when it comes to when you are taking decisions, especially from a longer term, you say, how was I able to build a relationship with a customer? Was I able to make more people come directly on my platform and look at a longer term play? So that's how we prove. Okay, so that's how we play a conversation, or we do strategically. So it's a long term play versus a short term play, and definitely, obviously, you have to have a mix. There will be, let's say, I have to, obviously it's difficult, so I'll also look at channel wise ROIs, an expensive, and it depends on industry. Like for example, let's say, an automobile brand might be very active or very ROI oriented or for a print, but they might not work on radio. Or for an internet brand, print might not make sense. So it depends on, channel to channel. Yeah.
So I think a lot of it also in a way depends upon what the brand's objective
Yes,
at that
and
given
what time
is
frame
as well.
is. Yeah.
And I think, as you rightly said, that if you're looking at a longer term or a short term thing based
Correct.
on what your objective is, that's how the entire strategy in a
Correct.
way can also be phased
Correct.
out.
Correct.
So, something I've always wondered and I've wanted to, know that digital is a newer stream that's there. Now, you're working at Jeevan Sathi, which has been there for the longest time, maybe a little before, the entire digital bit of it came in. So is there like that clash of opinion between the old thought process and what the newer digital marketers believe, and actually reaching, an end solution that, okay, this is what is actually right. Maybe TV ads did very well for us before, but now the market that we're targeting, the audience that we're targeting is kind of changed. So does that clash still prevail, or is it just us on the outside who believe that, okay, these two can really never
So,
get along?
see, first of all, understand one thing: brands are not built in a day. Okay, so
Absolutely.
the job. Let's first understand the roles. Okay, or at least in whatever I could say from my experience. See, number one job of a brand manager is, or a brand manager from an overall ecosystem is, how is brand able to develop a relationship with a customer and a prospect? Are they communicating in a right manner? Are they building a recall in a consumer's mind? Whereas digital marketing, professionals or as a profession, is very transactional in nature. Okay, so they act as nudges. It's very performance oriented. Okay, it's very much down the funnel. We call it in a marketing direct response marketing. Okay, or performance marketing. So definitely there will be a clash, okay? Because a brand manager would care more about how is the piece of a communication is it presented in a right way, okay? Is it being authentic? Is it being sensitive? Whereas a digital marketing is more focused on ROI, okay? It's much more focused on, am I able to technologically drive the best possible ROI? So one clash could be, let's say I'm actually writing a piece of communication for search ads. I am more thinking that how my quality score will go up, and so that Google will give me a higher score. Okay. Now it might not be the grammatically most correct sentence, but it works. Whereas the brand manager would be, concerned. Another thing, again, I'll bring this again, to a step back, which I say, because see, another clash is not just on communication piece, is on the attribution piece. Okay, it is very easy for a digital marketing folk to get the attribution for the nudges or for the marketing spends or the marketing efforts he or she is doing. How? It is very click based, it is very last click based, it's very easy to track also. The measurability is easy. Whereas the incrementality or attribution in a for a brand manager when they are doing branding campaigns is a little more difficult. Obviously, there are a lot of studies go into it. There are brand live studies. There are you partner with a lot of market research firms to establish. Were you able to establish that recall, consideration, awareness? All the upper funnel marketing metrics. So and I think it's about this clash is actually because of the expectation. Okay, so it's a healthy one. Both are actually trying to do their job. So I would say it's bound to happen, and I think it will keep evolving. And even as a performance marketing guy, I'm realizing that I need branding or my product to be strong so that my conversions go higher. Okay, so it's not just about digital marketing. So it goes both ways. And brand managers also need to understand that you need digital. Those nudges are needed at the various journey of a user to make people actually take action, because people are lazy. Okay, and that's where digital comes into picture. Yeah, so those are my thoughts. Yeah.
So, Karan, something that, I myself as a startup, and because I've had a startup before this, and now, venturing into the entire digital space in itself. Now, we as startups come with, maybe a limited set of budget that we have. However, in the limited set of budget, we want to be able to achieve the maximum that we can out of it. So, what are the kind of statistics that we should implement? What are the kind of key checkpoints that we should have to, before starting something or during the process in itself? So, it's not like it's a one-time thing you've started and then you wait for 30 days or 45 days to see what the, what maybe the customer's reaction to it is. So, what do you feel are these kind of actual statistics that we could implement in a way to get maximum out of the minimum budget that we might have at the
I
stage
think
where we are?
more than statistics, I'd like to first speak about the approach. Okay, I think see, first of all, understand one thing: statistics standalone. There is no thumb rule in that. Okay, this is much you need to spend on branding. This much you need to spend on performance. This should be the ratio allocation for a startup. This should be an allocation for a mid-sized company. This should be the ratio for a large-sized company. Let's first get out of that conversation. Okay, the first conversation is again, what is a marketing objective or what are the business objectives? Let's say you're a startup and or any startup which I am talking to, or if I'm talking to a few folks or founders, if your goal is very immediate to survive, okay, get users on the platform, get some customers on the platform, then obviously the marketing needs to be very ROI focused. Then you need to think of that how best possible results I can get for the kind of money I can spend, and what all I need to do. So let's say if you're a startup, you need to either you use kick-ass paid media strategy. Okay, you need to do performance marketing, find your audience, target them, get them on your platform, try to convert them, retarget them, do retention marketing, all of this. Okay, and spend major money over there. And you're obviously your content marketing needs to be also be in play to make that happen. But let's say you're just and let's say if you're in another startup where you have a competition, where you have tons of competition, it's not a blue ocean. You would need massive amount of recall and consideration before a customer takes an action. There you need to do two things. You might need to have a content marketing in place. You need to build some authority in the market. You also need to invest some money in branding, building. When I say branding, what I mean by that is do some sort of campaign, or work with that sort of channels which will help you get visible in that. And because trust is not established in first interaction. Okay, so but if let's say
Absolutely.
you're a startup, I would say it should be a healthy balance of, let's say, more of performance, okay, so that you can survive and thrive. Let's say 50 to 60%, it could be 70%, depending on the category you are. And but don't ignore your branding efforts, your content marketing efforts, because though they will play a role of establishing you as a brand with your audience. That is like building a a relationship with your prospects. You will get reviews, then you will get trust, you will get word of mouth, and then that whole loop will set in. So you cannot ignore. Yeah.
So, Karan, from what you say today, we ourselves are at a stage now where for Wavo Digital itself, we're trying to figure out up to what level should we go in a form of organic growth versus at what stage should we really start working on paid ads. So, I know that, as you said, every company's objective is different. What you require and what time frame you have to be able to achieve that also, differs brand to brand. But as a startup, is there something which you would suggest or you would want to share as a point of view for everyone here that, okay, at this stage up till here is where maybe you can organically try to see how it's working, and then post that you look at maybe a paid ad sort of thing. So I know it's not like a one size fits all sort of thing. It's not like everyone can implement the same sort of thing. But out of your experience, what do you suggest is the best method for a startup to be able to take the decision of what stage do we move from maybe an organic to a paid, or do we start with paid and then see how it's processing to go towards just looking at organic?
Okay, so as you said, there is no one size fit all. Okay, and it will depend on startup to startup, but let's look at both the approaches. Okay, see, obviously, first thumb rule is you need to have a little bit of product market fit. Okay, whatever service or a product you have, firstly there should be some demand before you start burning money. Okay, I think organic growth is very, very important to see, are you solving the right problem as a startup? If your product is not in place, if your service is not in place,
Correct.
I think then you will be burning money straight away. So if I take this to marketing, from a marketing point of view, definitely you can start with going organic route, where you will be using your content marketing efforts, trying to build a brand over social media or whatever growth marketing tactics which you can use. You can go via that. But the real scale actually always happens with paid ads. Okay, see, paid ads is like a water cannon. See, like let's say organic content will, it's like rain droplets. Okay, but paid ad is like water cannon. It's like a horse, like it will really push you. In fact, you learn a lot
Correct.
once you
Yeah.
scale things, that where is the scale possible, what is your audience. So and it depends. Like for example, a lot of times what people do is they to test an idea. Let's say a solopreneur trying to create, let's say, an informational product. They create a landing page, and they will run an ad for a few dollars, okay, or few, let's say, $1,000 or $2,000. They test whether there is a demand. Once they realize, then they start creating a product that they give it for free and everything, and then they collect that organic word of mouth, and then they start building. But if you really want to scale your business, if you want to generate actual business and revenue, paid ads is a way to go. I mean, obviously, that is my expertise. So obviously, I will have an opinion on this, but personally, I believe I've never seen a brand, or especially an inter-brand completely. I mean, barring very very few great examples, who can just scale based on the organic growth. You need like an engine of paid ads which will actually propel your marketing efforts.
Karan, just to add, and this is again a personal experience here. But as I said, your product
Yeah,
is
yeah.
something which has to really be ready. So today, when for Wavo Digital in itself, when we were looking at paid ads in a way, we realized one thing, that there are a lot of small nuggets on our current website itself, which in a way are not really optimized enough to see those paid ads convert to something. So, when a customer comes in is where we see that, the website should be optimized in a way where there's enough of, say for us today, something like a scheduler demo. That is something which should actually be on priority, so that in a way we're able to, collect that kind of data as well, and also build that kind of trust with the customer that, okay, we're here to be able to help you and guide you through with the entire process. And from a personal experience, I know, we were looking at paid ads, and then we realized that optimization, or at least in our case, the website product, is something which really needs to be up to the mark. And only then will you see results. Otherwise, what happens is that people will come and then they will bounce off, and then that's the start and end of it. So that bit of thing is something which I think is very very critical before you put that money into any form of
Correct.
advertising. Till the time the
And
basis is not correct,
you're sure of
it
you're
kind of
solving
is
a
just going to
problem,
lead to nothing.
and there's a demand. Test that organically, and then spend money
Correct.
and scale.
Correct. So, Karan, now I come from the influencer marketing field here. And in today's time, if you look at the digital space and how social media has picked up, there are a great number of content creators that are being born. And this is no longer just, the top level ones that we've been used to believe have to have 200, 300K followers, a million followers. There are a lot of smaller ones that are coming up, who are starting out with, say, about 1,000 followers or even 3,000 followers, who have that unique sort of content that they're building. So, in this entire, in a way, there's competition among the brands to be able to get the best influencers. There's competition among the influencers of, being able to reach out to the best brands. So what role do you think would marketing agencies in a way play when they're trying to connect brands with the most suitable influencers for the given product?
See, I think they play a dual role. Okay. See, influencer marketing obviously has been growing, and we have seen a massive adoption of influencer marketing as a part of any media mix of any brand, and a lot of FMCG brands do. We also do. Firstly, I think it's an education. Let's say an agency has to do education to both the sides. Okay. education to a brand or a marketer that what is this space, what are the actual authentic metrics you need to look at, what kind of influencers you need to look at, how is the space evolving, what are the mediums and channels, okay, which will actually suit you, how consumers engage with the influencers, how the product integration happens. So education has to happen to marketers. Also, some sort of education and visibility needs to happen to influencers. Okay, influencers need to be guided that what brands look for in influencers, what how it's not just about the following, it's also about how your audience is should engage with an influencer, which keeps a brand interested in you. Also, how authenticity elements and everything, and so essentially, I'm in a match. I'm with the matchmaking business. So I would say that actually it's a job of a matchmaking of a right influencer to a right,
Correct.
brand. So let's say for Jeevan Sati, what kind of influencers were that education needs to happen to an influencer and the brand, and obviously connecting the two and everything. So it's a very good role. It's like a matchmaking role, I would say. Any agency needs to play and help marketers achieve their goals.
I think that's very true. As you rightly said, that it's no longer just
Yeah.
a follower count, but actually makes a difference. Today a lot of new niches have been born. Say something like vegan food. Now that is something which has just recently started out. So for me to expect an influencer with a follower count of 300, 500K is not going to be possible because it's a new trend that's picked up over here. So I think that bit, yes, you're correct that the education bit of it becomes very important, and I think somewhere maybe more on the brand side as well, because they need to realize, and especially startups, because today we built a platform for startups, and we realize a lot of them say that I want someone with 200K followers, but you need to understand that maybe that's not the correct fit for your brand as well, or maybe the target audience is not the correct fit for your brand. So Karan, as you said, Jeevan Sati as well, if you could maybe give us that as an example, or if otherwise you could help us through, what do you think are the key things maybe a brand should really look into before selecting an influencer, or before approaching them? So today, if you take Jeevan Sati an example,
Sure.
or if any other example, if you can say, what are the critical aspects that an influencer should be looked into, or those aspects before actually approaching them,
Sure.
that a
So,
brand should keep in mind.
see, I think first thing is actually a lot of research which should go into is what is the market about. Okay, so let me take a Jeevan Sati example. So
Okay.
we have very very diverse markets across India. The Punjabi market, matchmaking market, would behave very differently from let's say a Marathi matchmaking market or a Bengali matchmaking market. So when we
Absolutely.
when we look at an influencer, we look at first obviously the popularity, okay, in that market of the kind of influencers over there. Also the pop culture. So let's say in Punjabi market, music is a big thing. So we will try to look at influencers which are in music space.
Correct.
Okay, so we actually collaborated with Parmish, for a video. You can go and check out that. So that's another thing. The culture which will relate to the target audience which we are trying to target. So we are trying to target a little more younger audience, 25 to 34, in that market, the culture which is ingrained there in life. Other thing is basic healthy checks of what is the following, what is the engagement, what kind of products or brands the influencer has done partnerships with in the past, any previously done in a similar space, what kind of content integrations we can do, okay, and obviously and the other thing is the synergy, but it should not be a misfit. Okay, it should not be a complete misfit between a brand and I mean, it should not be like the personality is very different from what brand represents. And lastly, very importantly, is the
Correct.
cost. I mean, cost is
Correct.
also one aspect. what kind of efficiency I'll get out of that influencer, that is always kept in mind as a marketer. So it's not just about the matrix of this, but cost per reach, cost per engagement. So that because we are also trying to bring efficiencies to our marketing plans and everything.
So Karan, we're talking about influencers and talking about digital marketing and maybe the different kind of mediums that are available in today's time. What do you think a brand or maybe a startup or any brand, even if whatever size it is, what kind of maybe marketing strategies could these brands use to or differentiate themselves or stand out from the rest
see, the
of
thing
them?
is, first of all, I'll take a step back. Okay. I think I'll talk more about the mindset rather than strategy. Okay. What in my experience in digital, I think better digital marketers are those, okay, who are not, who are more experimental in nature. Okay. So the point the point I'm trying to make over here is, if a digital marketer is very, very open to try new ideas, because see, in a category there could be a lot of curtain because of the communication. There could be one differentiating point could be your positioning, what communication you're doing and everything. So that's marketing 101. That's has nothing to do with the digital space. But what separates or what strategies you can take is depending on the mindset, that how much flexible and how dynamic are you in terms of trying new things and being more experimental. Can you do 20 experiments, find your winners and scale before your competition does? So for me, okay, especially in paid media, I think it is more about agility, okay, more about experimentation, and do this before competition and capture the market, so that I am actually able to differentiate. Because I think there are tons of brands in each space. Unlike let's say you're creating a new market itself, so that's a different ball game altogether. In any space there will be competition. So the differentiation is actually about obviously the execution piece,
Correct, absolutely.
the experimental piece, the speed at which you do. So I personally feel it's actually about the culture within the team. It's about the agility you bring as a marketer, the execution with which you do. Okay, how quick are you on a feet to be experimental, learn, repeat, and scale everything. So I think that is how you stand out. I mean, Swiggy is the best example. How they do topical, and Zomato also does that. How quick are they? Okay, so that is why they are able to. So there is no differentiation in doing something different. It's a culture, it's a mindset, it's the execution. I would say.
Correct. Now that you brought Swiggy and Zomato up, and since you've been in this field for long enough, I have to ask you, is there like one favorite campaign that you have that maybe over the years you yourself as you've used as an example that this is what is like a perfect campaign which can should be done, or these are the lines
I
of what
think
it could be
actually
implemented?
more than I think campaign, I would actually talk about. There's no one campaign which I can clearly talk about. Okay, this is the campaign I would have loved to do or something like that. Let me just actually come to the aspect of digital marketing, how it has changed by the players like Urban Clap, Swiggy, Zomato. Now I think how the space is changing is that personalization is happening at a very vast scale, at a speed, and video marketing is becoming very big. So I remember clearly 2.5 years back, I was actually trying to build some video assets for my brand, and what we realized that we need quick 10 second videos, 10-15 second videos, where we are talking straight about why a user or a prospect should be using our app. So we came up with using Jeevan Sathi. So we came up with few ideas and everything, and during that research I went to and looked Zomato's creatives, Swiggy creatives. If you look at their functional creatives, okay, how they talk about you got an offer, go and clicks. Even recently Urban is doing a lot. Okay, they have a quick offer. They create a 10-15 seconder and they run paid
Correct.
media ads across
Absolutely.
YouTube,
Yeah.
Facebook, their app campaigns every day. So I think that is how the game has changed. Okay, so it's not just about coming up with a big brand idea, TVCs, and developing a lot of communication around it. Partnering with influencers. But I think this whole approach of talking, creating a quick, functional videos which are actually talking to the customer and trying to nudge them to cut. So I think Swiggy and Zomato does that a lot, and I think every brand should learn from it. How can they,
I
adapt from
think
this?
yeah,
So
and
that's my,
yeah, and I think
biggest learning.
rightly, I think somewhere what's also important is that I think everyone as brands believe that they knew their customer, but I think somewhere now every assumption that you had about your customer has actually been like thrown out of the door, and every day maybe comes up with
Yes.
something new. So you actually have to in a way, as you said, topical post. Look at that. You never know what actually starts trending, and I think these brands you rightly said have
Correct.
made a great great use of it. I mean, I think someone like Dunzo as well, if you look at the kind of posts that they've done, I think that they've been really up to the mark with maybe the the bigger players in the market as well. So I think that's great. So that's a kind of approach I think a lot of
Yeah.
startups also should really start using. And Karan,
Yes.
what would you say would be maybe a social media page or a LinkedIn page or something that refer to a lot, or maybe that's your first thing to go to in the morning and read about, where you get a lot of information about what's happening in the marketing field or what new campaign has someone done. So I know at least online, maybe I use platforms like an MOM or a social dissect, and I know everything new that's coming up. These pages are going to tell me about it. So would you suggest some platforms like these, which startups or anyone interested in the marketing field could really follow up and get the daily dose of information from?
So I think from an Indian market point of view, I typically get my marketing dose from sites like AdGully, Exchange for Media, AFAX. I do get even for social media, I think Social Samosa is a very good one.
Correct.
If you look at if you want to explore more about what's happening in the global space and digital marketing space, especially from a paid media perspective, my go-to websites are Search Engine General. What there is a site called WordPresso and Neil Patel. So the tons and tons of site. In fact, I mean I learn a lot only from LinkedIn also. I think
Absolutely.
people are creating amazing content on LinkedIn. I myself do that. I'm a big time on LinkedIn. So I think LinkedIn is my go-to overall platform where I get to learn a lot, not just from a website point of view or a daily dose, but also from the insights of what people are doing or what people are, what's happening in the industry, and we get to
Correct.
connect with really sharp minds over there. Yeah.
Correct. And I've been trying to do that as well. So I'm still catching up, but I think, yes, that's something I think when you hear, people similar to you and people who you in a way resonate or, relate to as well, them sharing their experiences and, them sharing information, and you actually grasp it a lot faster than when you just read an article or something of that sort. Karan, something which we also, I wanted to, get your viewpoint on and maybe your tips on as well. And I think, this in a way could be, a closing for us as well, because, we've got great insights from you. But I think something which, a lot of marketers out there would really want to know as well is that, this entire marketing professionals, and there are a lot of skilled marketing professionals that are out there today. Unfortunately, maybe we're at a stage where the kind of supply that we're looking at is way more than the demand that's existing in the market. So what do you think a few points which maybe marketers could keep in mind, which makes them maybe more employable or something, which helps them stand out from the rest of the candidates as well?
So actually, it's an interesting question. I have, a different take on this. Actually, obviously, marketing as a profession is growing, and digital marketing is a new thing, and it's not a new thing anymore. It's been more than a decade and now. I think there are more skilled marketers, but in true sense, if you ask me, I think the depth is missing. When I say depth, my personal belief is that you need to know one core skill, okay, like nobody does. Like you should be in top 4% of that skill, and
Correct.
I not just from an India point of view, from a global point of view. So that's I think is difficult task to do and it takes years to build that. People want to grasp, by just doing a course or a workshop and everything. That doesn't happen that way. And a lot of marketers then either fall short of, let's say, a breadth of knowledge. So I don't think that there is a lot of supply where you have like they call it T-shaped. You have one core skill and a breadth of knowledge. But I think one key aspect which will make you differentiate, and I see this missing especially from a lot of digital marketers who are working, is the business acumen side of things. Okay, at the end, okay, as a marketer, my job is to help my business and brand grow. If you don't understand the business side of things, and if you don't, and I would say softer skills like stakeholder management, communication, if you're not able to sell your ideas to your senior management, or even if you can sell your ideas to your agency, okay, so I think that's where you always differentiate. So my personal viewpoint is that you might know a core skill, you might be technically very sound, but if you're not, let's say, if you really want to differentiate, if you really want to rise, I think developing the softer side of things and the business side of things, I think it's very
Correct.
important because at the end, marketing directly impacts the business, and you are as custodian of of driving revenue, brand, business, as a business guy would be or a sales guy would be.
Correct.
So you work very closely with business, be it advertiser or be at agency side. So I think that's how you will differentiate. If you can understand the business side of things, strategy side of things, and if you can communicate and manage your stakeholders to bring an impact.
Okay. I think that's a lovely point. I mean, everyone believes that, there are too many people doing a given course. I mean, we ourselves have heard so many people say that, there are too many people in the given industry. But, as you said, for startup, for professionals as well, that's something I think which applies maybe to businesses as well. That, going into the depth of a particular aspect and helping businesses across all those, different verticals is something which is truly missing. So I think that's great. That's a very, very valid point. And I think with this, Karan, I come to an end of what I really wanted to get an understanding from you of a perspective of performance marketing and digital marketing in itself. So I think thank you so much for being a part of this. I'm sure
Thank
there
you.
might be a lot
Pleasure.
of questions that we have later, which people might want to drop and ask. And whenever you get the time, would be great if you could maybe answer those for us. And it was lovely,
Sure.
lovely having you. And I think
Pleasure.
we will surely reconnect with you again soon. For further discussions about how startups and brands and maybe other marketers can also grow in this industry.
Pleasure. It was lovely
Yeah,
talking to you.